Namaste and welcome to another episode of Symbicare Dialogues. I'm Dr. Meenal Patwekar, Head of Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the Symbiosis Medical College for Women and the Symbiosis University Hospital and Research Center at Pune. Our theme today is one that touches every stage of a woman's life: women's well being through a holistic health perspective. Health in all dimensions, not just medicines, sleep, nutrition, emotions, hormones, and the world around us. Last week, we premiered our curtain raiser video, and honestly, it reflects my own journey as a clinician too, especially moving beyond just disease management into understanding the emotional, social, and the lived realities of women's health. Today, I'm honored to continue this conversation with Dr. Hema Divakar. She is a globally recognized obstetrician and gynecologist and a women's health champion who has dedicated her career to advancing holistic, preventive, and accessible healthcare for the Indian woman. Her leadership, her empathy, her vision closely align with the heart of Symbicare. Dr. Hema, welcome to Symbicare Dialogues. We are delighted to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Meenal, and thanks to Symbiosis and the leadership for having come out with this brilliant idea. Thank you again.
So, well, to set the ball rolling, madam, when we talk about well being today, the word used is everywhere. But from your lens, what does holistic well being truly mean for a woman in 2025?
We are on a symbiosis program, so I truly think that it means symbiosis. So that is interdependence and support and way forward with both herself and the people and the society around her. On one hand, her strength and her self reliance. On the other hand, the safety and the support that she gets. The symbiosis or the interconnect between these two should define the wellness of women as we move to the journey 2025 and beyond.
Fantastic. I would start off with the adolescent girls stepping into womanhood. Today's young girls live in a
Mhm.
completely different environment or in a different world. More screens, more pressure, more confusion, and far less silence free time. As a practicing physician or a gynecologist, what, in your opinion, are the major health concerns for these adolescent girls today?
We know that a woman is not born a woman, she becomes one. And adolescence is that phase which sets her into this new era in her own life. People outside would notice sudden growth spurt, sudden changes in her body and her outlook towards the world itself. That is one of the major external visible change, which again brings in this era special problems of the body image, the being underweight, being obese, and if the hormone fluctuations are there, and just a bunch of pimples, and then she's psychologically disturbed, and a hair here and there, and then abnormal place, and also the kind of the surge of the hormones, which makes them very adventurous to experiment with a lot of things. And the hyper connected world of today through the digital platform exposes them to a lot beyond what you can imagine. Okay, with such an overload and overwhelming information. So there is a complete state of chaos and confusion, and how they deal with themselves and how the rest of the people around them deal with it. Beyond all this, one medically phenomenon which happens during this time is the onset of the menstrual cycle. There is a lot happening to her already, and then this is a new event. And this is a much anticipated and a relieving event because it sets her into the track of her reproduction or womanhood, but it may at times bring in its own problems of the crankiness or the mood disturbances. In a way, there is more complexity to this phenomenon of menstruation, which is supposedly a physiological, normal happening, but I guess it brings forth with it its own issues as well.
Absolutely, madam. So, if you had to pick just one mantra for families raising these adolescent girls, what would that one guiding principle be?
Listen first before you lecture, connect before you correct. That will be the mantra.
What a meaningful mantra, madam. And building on that thought, another integral part of supporting adolescent girls is how we guide them through menstrual health. So, may I ask, how do we normalize menstrual conversations in our homes and schools?
From times immemorial, the adults in the family, may it be the parents or the relatives or teachers when they go to school, everybody whispers around this topic of menstruation, which itself makes it a stigma or a taboo. But now, again, we come back to 2025, where movies like Padman perhaps had to come into the center stage to make this more visible. And there are many social media campaigns and challenges which bring forth this from the hidden shells into the open, and most importantly, the voices of the youth themselves, learning and explaining to the other peer group that this is a normal phenomena. The menstruation has now become accepted as one of the normal, physiological, expected, natural occurrence in a women's life. So that is how it has to be rightly positioned.
Beautifully explained. I think our listeners will agree that the next related challenge is even harder, and the conversation is going to be around sex education. Many girls today are silently struggling. Sex education is often misunderstood as a Western import. And therefore, from an Indian cultural standpoint, what is your opinion to the need of sex education? And how can we deliver age appropriate, culturally sensitive, and science backed sensitive sex education to these young girls?
Meena, the more you make an issue out of this, it becomes a more, the curious or not to be openly spoken about kind of, but everybody wants to be in it. It's such a paradox. It is a testimony to the fact that though that, are not actually formally counseled about all these things are happening. You cannot shut your eyes and say that India is very different because all are human beings on par. But then the key thing is that the sex education promotes a safe behavior and a responsible behavior. So the common cliched, sentence that we use in our school health and hygiene programs when we empower them with the life skills, including sex education, is the primary thing is don't drink. If you drink, don't drive. Same way, abstain. If you indulge in sex, then have safe sex.
What a valuable insight you have given. So, bringing forth again something, another very important part of a woman's life is the way we eat and the way we nourish ourselves. We see so many food fads, religious fastings, nutritional illiteracy, cultural practices like women eating last, relying on leftovers, grabbing just some rushed bites between responsibilities. How does all this affect women's nutrition or metabolism? Does it have any long term effect on her health? Especially keeping in mind the calcium, the vitamin D, iron, B12, or any other micronutrient which may be necessary for her later on for her pregnancy and
Sure.
in later life for menopause.
Certainly, we give them just one tagline: think nutrition first, which means that you should be eating right. So, the two extremes, fasting and feasting, both have to be avoided. Eating right is important. And of course, busy women who are working will need a quick bite. But what should that quick bite be? Plenty of them, culturally appropriate, regionally appropriate recipes are available all through the internet. This entire Asian community is very, very prone to the diabetes. That is why we are harping on the fact that the carbohydrate content should be really less, because lots of our daily meal, like rice and wheat, is full of carbohydrates. One chikki a day keeps your protein good and keeps your iron good. Simple things like that. And it's doable. It's something that they can munch once a day. And then if you tell them green leafy vegetables, of course, they're also rich in iron. And the millet driven ready products are also now easily available. If it has to come to reality, then it should be available in the form that is acceptable by the community.
So, looking beyond food now, and another area where women have many misconceptions is exercise. Now, women believe in India, especially they think that sweeping the floor, mopping, climbing stairs, all these, what I call them as routine ethics, is exercise. Do you think this is enough?
If they were actually doing it, so then we probably thought it was good enough. Even 20 minutes of walking
Yes.
every single day, but brisk walking. So anything that they do should be consistent. And yoga is one thing which has now, picked up in a big way and doable, which means it's easy to do. It looks relaxing, but it burns quite a bit of calories. It also, some of the breathing exercises oxygenate the tissues more, and also it's a way of de-stressing.
If I have to understand that you think that home based strength routine would be good, I guess they should focus on at least 30 minutes of exercise at home, and going to gyms would be stressing on the pocket. But I guess that beyond this particular of fitness, another factor that silently shapes the woman's health is the environment today. What do you think are these climate or environmental risks, especially affecting women's health today? Just in brief, that you could tell us
Yeah.
these 2, 3 toxins that can really cause some effect on our body.
AC and polluted air, plastic, water bottles, cosmetics, and even some of the fragrances have a lot of toxins in them. The clothes washing, there is so much of chemicals in the the laundry stuff that we use. So unseen, unknown, kind of subtly, silently getting into our daily routine are all of these toxins. So, climate change, environment toxins, which directly affect our health, especially women's health and the health of pregnant women. So, people are, I think, slowly and steadily recognizing, but we should act much more faster than the deterioration which is happening because of toxins.
Wonderful tips, madam. Small changes, big impact. And now, as I come with this conversation, very important transition in a woman's life is nothing but a menopause. So, if you had to design one simple Indian culturally rooted menopausal wellness toolkit, what would it include?
Actually, I think that menopausal toolkit, Indian women are more resilient because the strength in their minds that they have to put up with anything and everything
Yes.
actually sails them through this crisis of menopause. We should have a well women center. Know your numbers is the first thing. What is your height, weight, BMI? Do you know your blood pressure? Do you know your hemoglobin? And do you know the status of your sugars? So, know your numbers is one thing. The bone health has to be really maintained. The calciums and the vitamin D3, which is so much spoken about, it's also parallelly the exercises. The bones will remold with a good amount of activity and exercise. And the cancer check, the breast and the cervical cancer, immense potential for early detection and complete way forward for having their longevity and quality of life.
Thank you, madam. Before I wrap up, can you give me one core non negotiable message, the most urgent call to action that you would give to every woman who's listening to Symbicare Dialogues today?
Have the confidence to prioritize herself.
Yes.
She should think that she is important, which most of the women put their priorities as the last. So, if at all everything has to change, then this core thought process in every girl, every woman has to change. It's not selfishness that you're prioritizing yourself, it's a need of the hour. You
Yes.
prioritize your wellness, you be well, and you make others around you also well and happy. That is really the way to go, is what I would encourage every woman, everywhere, every time, every place. Yeah.
Yes, madam. So I think prioritizing herself to be in inverted commas.
When we say, Minal, health
Yes.
is wealth.
Yes.
That's a simple thing. So invest in your health.
Yeah.
That is
That's
the key.
that's the core message. Prioritize in investing in your own health. As we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listeners with one final reflection from the SymbiCare movement. At Symbiosis International University, a health promoting university, we believe women's health is not just a medical work, it's a shared social responsibility. Across our campuses, we are turning health into daily practice through regular screenings, mental well being support, menstrual literacy, fitness and yoga initiatives, nutrition awareness, and safer and more inclusive spaces for every woman. Our commitment is very simple to ensure that every girl and woman feels stronger, more informed, and supported at every stage in her life. Only then can we truly advance in our Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Sashakta Bharat, a nation that is not only empowered but also Surakshit, Sushikshit, and ultimately Saksham in every sense. Thank you, Dr. Hema Madam, for your wonderful wisdom and all your tips. And thank you to our listeners. Until next time, take care, stay aware, and stay empowered.